Warning! This episode contains foul language, discussions about phobias, and some potentially disturbing stories.
Hi, weirdos! You are listening to Keep It Weird, the podcast for all things strange, unusual, paranormal, supernatural, creepy, sticky, gross, scary, and everything in between. Each week, we have the pleasure of sitting down and chatting about something weird. This week, we are turning on our nightlights, we're hiding under the covers, and we are saying our prayers because the boogeyman is coming. Human beings have been afraid of the dark since the beginning of time, but why is that? Is it because something is watching us? Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society, my name is Ashley, and this is my co-host Lauren.
Hi, weirdos!
And this week we are asking, are you afraid of the dark?
Oh my gosh, your throwback to the "Are you afraid of the
Yeah, you're
dark"
welcome.
quote, I am living for that. You brought back
There are a
every
handful
memory.
of people that will enjoy that. And
Yes.
then there are some youngins that will not know what we're talking about. There was a Nickelodeon show. It's called Are You Afraid of the Dark? And it was the scariest thing that ever happened to me.
It was the best show ever, and it really terrified me in my youth, and it was perfect. No, that, like, as soon as you said those words, just every childhood memory was ignited inside of me, and I loved it. I loved it so much.
I was always scared of the episode with the vampires in the hospital.
Yes, that was a really good one. Oh my goodness.
I think there was one about a ghost in an attic, too, that really rubbed me the wrong way.
There was one about a dollhouse where a human girl got, like, stuck in the dollhouse, and that one really roughed me up for quite some time.
That reminds me of the witches
Yes.
getting
oh my
stuck in a
gosh.
painting. Mm-mm.
Yes, it's that same vibe where you're like, can you even imagine? And I think they also did a little vampire tribute, a little Nosferatu action in a movie theater, like an old school theater that I remember really enjoying. Yes, they really knew what they were doing. That was a great show.
They really turned it out for us. They did a really good job.
And I remember it being like TVY7 saying basically like all children can watch for the most part. And looking back, I'm like, no, this show was terrifying. Why did you let that happen?
The show was very scary, and I don't know why it was allowed.
Oh, man. Ugh, good stuff.
Speaking of dollhouses, did you watch Bly Manor?
I have not completed it. I think I saw on social media today that you have, but I just finished episode 5 today, and let me tell you, that was one of the best episodes of television I ever did see.
Episode 5 was good.
So good. I cried a lot more than I was ready for, and I also, without spoiling anything, I'm just going to say there were some twists and turns I was quite excited about. I predicted one of them, but the other one shocked the daylights out of me. It was great. I loved it.
Yeah, episode 5 is my favorite. Okay, well, we won't talk about it until
I know. No
you've
giveaways,
seen it, and
but I love it,
also,
love it, love it.
you know, all of the listeners have had a chance to watch it, and then maybe we'll give our opinions. But
Yes.
Haunting of Bly Manor, it's on Netflix. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, it's the second. The thing is, it's not really the second season of a show, but it's sort of like, if you remember The Haunting of Hill House, this is the same thing, only
Same
a new
creators, some of the same cast, same vibe, but a totally different story. And also, if you haven't seen Haunting of Hill House, go watch that immediately.
Oh, man.
Because it's perfection.
That's just awesome.
So
and
good.
actually, you know what? We went back and we watched Ouija Origins of Evil
Ooh, that's good.
a couple weeks ago. It's fantastic, which is Mike Flanagan, who directed the show. When I saw it the first time, I hadn't seen Hill House or, you know, Dr. Sleep, or I think I'd only seen Oculus, so I didn't know anything about him. I mean, like, not the whole cast of Hill House, but one of the little girls from Hill House is in it, and the father from Hill House, the guy from E.T. I can never remember his name. He's in it.
Elliot.
The mother in Ouija is the oldest sister from Hill House. So yeah, it's just like watching a different Hill House story.
And also special shout out when we talk about the Ouija Origins of Evil, our guest from season 1 or 2, Christine, was like a stand-in, like photo double on that movie. So we had a special connection there.
That is something, though. We do actually have a friend that we really know in real life who just started a movie. His name is Skylar Bible, and the movie is The Wolf of Snow Hollow. If anyone gets the newsletters, I've been talking this movie up for the past 2 months. It's fantastic. We bought it on iTunes. It's great.
Oh, good. I can't wait to watch.
It's really, really good. Anyways, so this month we have a couple new patrons, and I have to give them a shout out. We have a Patreon. It's our only source of income for the show, aside from a little bit of merch money, but we try to keep that stuff as inexpensive as possible for you, and therefore not profitable for us. But we have this Patreon. We put in this extra work every month so that we don't have to have 15 minutes of ads in every episode. May not be this way forever, but we're doing what we can to make sure that it's this way today. So basically you can donate $1, $5, or $10 to the show, and you can do that once or you can do that monthly, and you get perks. You get shout outs, you get discounts on merch, you get newsletters, you get full-length bonus episodes. It's great. So if you want to join, head over to www.patreon.com/keepitweirdpodcast and give us some of that sweet, sweet green.
Please.
We have a couple new additions so far. It's not even halfway through the month. We have a couple new patrons.
The patron.
That was very Moira of me.
Oh, Moira Rose. Love it.
We've got Jared Sims. Hi, Jared.
Hi, Jared.
We've got Raphael with the mysterious no last name. Ooh,
hello.
What could
Into
it be?
It's like
actually,
Prince.
I have his last name.
Oh, never.
Just kidding.
You're not.
Hi, Raph. You're not mysterious anymore. We've got Haley Oakes. Haley, you angel. This is Joey's little sister.
I was going to say, isn't that a relative of Joe? Yeah. Welcome, Haley.
She's the funniest person, and she has the best laugh in the entire world.
Oh, love a good laugh.
We've got Taylor, another mystery, no last name, but I think we should refer to you as the artist formerly known as Taylor. I think you're right,
Let's
Lauren.
do it. I think there's something to that.
And finally, we have Hillary Rivas, who I miss very much. Hello, Hillary.
Hi, Hillary. Welcome.
I assume this is the Hillary Rivas that I know, and if it's not, I'm very sorry.
Can you imagine if it's just a completely different one?
Meet you someday, stranger?
Good save. Good save.
Either way, thank you.
Welcome, everybody.
Also, before we get into it, we are still having that pumpkin contest.
Yes. We want to see them pumpkins.
Yeah, everyone carves their pumpkins like the last week of October, and that's totally fine. That's when I carve mine.
We get it.
But once you do, submit a photo of you and your pumpkin. It could be carved, it could be painted, it could just be creative decoration, and send it to us on social media, or you can email it to us at keepitweirdpodcast@gmail.com anytime before November 1st. And you could win some merch, you could win some art, or you could win an invite to a Zoom party with me and Lauren, which is our most exciting prize because we want to see your face and we want to hear your voice, kids.
Come party with us. Let's do it. I'm so excited. And we really just want to see your pumpkins.
And also, we just really want to see some pumpkins. Like, this Halloween is sad. Everyone knows it. Everyone's feeling bizarre. It. So
yeah. We don't know what to do with this Halloween. Let's make it the best we can. The best of our ability. We can do it together.
All right, without further ado, this week we are talking about the dark and the boogeyman, and Lauren's going to start us off.
Guys, let's chat about the dark and things that go bump in the night, and why we're scared of what's under the bed and behind the closet door. Oh, I just freaked myself out because I have a mirror on my closet door that I'm looking at, and I've told Ashley this before. If I'm not paying attention to it, but all of a sudden flip my head towards it, it scares the bejesus out of me. And
I have heard her scream.
Like, it was just my face, but there it is. There is actually history to our fear of the dark, and I am going to talk briefly about phobias, so hold your horses if you're listening to the things I'm telling you and you're like, but this is a real phobia people have, why isn't she talking about it? I'm getting to it, I promise. But
take a breath.
It's going to be there. I just want to go back to where does this come from? As children, we all seem to go through a scared of the dark phase. That's why that beautiful television show on Nickelodeon called Are You Afraid of the Dark existed. Because back when we were younger, it's true that in a lot of ways kids are fearless. They don't have shame. There's a lot of things they don't fear that we are very cautious about as adults. Exactly. They just don't feel that embarrassment. They don't know that things are supposed to be scary. However, many kids feel something about darkness. There's something about the dark that puts kids on edge almost every night when they're very little. It was this thing of when darkness fell, that's when the monsters came out to play, and that's just what our wild imagination told us. So even though now as adults, it may seem silly or ridiculous to be scared of the dark, our fear is actually an evolutionary trait that we picked up to survive real predators that stalked at night. Researchers believe that this innate fear stems from a point in human history when we were not exactly at the top of the food chain like we are today, which makes sense. There was a time when our ancestors were constantly on the lookout for predators that wanted nothing more than to eat our delicious human flesh. And to make that even creepier, most predators hunted at night, when our eyesight was poor and our bodies were tired and vulnerable. Just the rudest. So this means that it was super important for humans to stay safe in the middle of the night especially, and if they didn't, sadly they would most likely die from some large creature.
Can you imagine how sleepless your nights would have been?
Knowing that a lion could just come eat you? What?
Just now, I just think about myself now and how restless I am and how Joe could be the quietest angel as he entered the room to sneak into bed at night, and I'd be
You're still like, what? Who's that?
And he's like, it's me.
Exactly.
Go to bed.
I lightly brush Alex's foot and I'm like, what animal is here? It's absurd.
So maybe we would have survived.
Maybe. What you're saying. Maybe we were correct in being prepared. So over the years, this nightly fear just became instinct. It was just a part of human life. And we still experience it today, but it's more a form of mild anxiety. So a 2012 study by researchers in the University of Toronto claimed that this anxiety we feel isn't usually a full-blown panic attack. And again, little caveat, in the case of a phobia, it is, but we'll get to that. But most often it's just this lingering fear that creeps in, keeps us very on edge, and it's exactly what our ancestors needed to survive. So it comes from those that came before us. And this anxiety is just the body's way of keeping us on our toes in case we have to fight off danger. It's our fight or flight. It's instilled in us. It's ready to go. So being afraid of the dark really comes down to the fear of the unknown. We can't see what's out there, and it freaks us out because our imagination then takes hold and fills in the worst possible thing we can think of. For ancient humans, it was lions and tigers and bears, oh my! Other predators in the world, whatever. But in today's world, it's these monsters that we have created. We create monsters because they feel that predator character. And a really good example of this is actually in horror movies, which we talked about last week. The extra spooky ones, in my opinion, everyone differs, but to me, I love the movies that never directly show you the monster, because your imagination can make something way scarier most of the time. Our mind is so powerful that even just hearing the sounds and knowing that something is lurking nearby, that's all we need to terrify us and give us the goosebumps.
That is why the Blair Witch Project is still one of the scariest things I've ever seen in my entire life.
I know.
Because all you get is their reaction where they're like, what the fuck was that? And I'm like, what was it?
We can't see it, but we know it's awful. Exactly. No, that is so true. Some movies really do it right. And then this might be a hot take because I think some people love it, but that movie Mama.
Yeah, showed her a little too much.
Yeah, but it's what makes me sad is the beginning of that movie scared me so bad. Yeah, like those first few scenes where you just hear the noises and know something is around the corner. I was like, oh, this is about to be good. But then we just saw her for the next hour. And I was like, nope, now I'm not scared.
Now I'm not scared because she seems pretty chill.
Yeah, like, I think she just wants to hang out, really. Yeah. Like, she
screams a lot, and she looks creepy, but, like, if we treated everyone like we treat Mama, who screamed a lot and looked a little creepy, you're right. That take is right.
Yeah, thank you.
That take is correct. Everyone else is wrong.
You're all wrong. So, even though our life has changed drastically since these ancestors that we're referencing, and we live in our big ol' cities, and we have all of the technology we could possibly ever want, and the ability to turn on a light or have a TV on anytime we want, we still have that fear of the dark instilled in us. We don't need this fear anymore for survival, but it is still strangely there in some small way, most likely passed down from a distant relative and implanted in our psyche. So if you or a child in your life is afraid of the dark, just try to remember that at one point in life, it was a survival trait that kept humans alive. And instead of feeling derpy and silly and like, why am I afraid? Think of it as this trait that makes your body more aware of potential threat and more fit to survive. Switch that perspective right up. Unless, of course, you do have an actual phobia, which is very worth acknowledging. Because for some, the darkness is not just something that keeps you a little on edge, but it is actually a crippling, panic-inducing fear. The fear of the dark is called nyctophobia. This is severe fear of the dark. And if you're wondering yourself out there whether you're just having a little anxiety over the darkness in your room, or maybe it is this full-blown phobia, here are some signs of nyctophobia for you. When presented with darkness, whether at home before bed or in a public space where darkness hinders your ability to see, it's basically just anytime your visuals go away. You will experience sweating, breathlessness, heart palpitations, inability to think or speak clearly, and a feeling of detachment from reality. So scary, scary stuff, you guys. This is when it's a phobia, is where you're basically you're in the fetal position because you are truly so terrified you don't even know how to be a person anymore when you experience darkness or realize that, your vision cannot go as far as what makes you feel safe. So there are treatment options through the right therapist for both children and adults with nyctophobia. However, in adults, this phobia is a lot worse, which is why I'm hoping nobody out there listening is like, wait, this is me. It is extremely incapacitating, and in most cases, medication, very strong medication, is needed along with some intense therapy. But it is good to know that there is help out there if you're experiencing this, and it is good to know in the case that it's not just, ooh, it's a little dark in here, but maybe you are actually, really having a rough time with the darkness. No, you're not alone. And I just thought that was important.
Yeah, and I was going to say, if anyone actually has that fear, if you could write in and describe it to us, because I'm wondering, we just had this happen in our Facebook group, which you should join if you haven't already. It's a lot of fun.
People chatted about phobias.
Yeah, a listener asked, who was it? Was it Rebecca? Let me get the name.
I want to say so.
Yeah, it was Rebecca Vanden, and she said she had botanophobia, which is amazing. I've never even heard of this.
I haven't
which
either.
Has to do with plants. You guys should look it up or join our Facebook group because we talk about it. But also, a lot of people chimed in and told everyone about their phobias. And I realized I always consider myself to be a pretty anxious individual. And I don't think I actually have a phobia of anything. Like, nothing really grosses me out. Or teeth. Okay, I guess teeth. Like teeth falling out. I really can't handle that. But I don't know if it's a phobia. So, like, if anyone has, like, a good descriptive vocabulary that can, like, describe what it feels like to have nyctophobia or whatever your phobia is.
We want to hear.
Totally. I mean, we are eventually going to have a phobias episode. That's one of the ones that we really wanted to reserve for a guest who did have a phobia who could come on and talk to us about it. Yeah, but that's something I've always wondered. Is it a just completely physiological thing? You don't even think about it. It's dark and you have anxiety, or is it your imagination has to start to take hold and then the anxiety happens? I'm interested.
It's sort of like maybe they never grew out of that childhood fear. Because as I was saying before, a lot of it is like your imagination is running wild when you're a kid. So you're afraid of the dark because you're like, well, I know that this creature could be existing over in the dark from this cartoon or this little game that I was playing with my friend. Like, we were talking about a creature and an alien, and that's what I imagine that pile of clothes in the corner is. And I think sometimes that doesn't go away for adults, but I don't know. And that's the fear of the dark. And what I'm going to go into next is very similar, but still interesting. A lot of the same things we just discussed about darkness go with the idea of monsters lurking in the closet or under the bed. This open space that we can't fully see because it's either under us or behind our closet door is something spooky to us because it could lead to the unknown. And it just really irks us, it creeps us out. And psychologists say that many children have a fear of monsters being somewhere in their room from a very young age. And it actually is a huge part of our development when we're around the ages 3 to 5. It usually comes with 2 different things, from what I have come to understand. Either your imagination is starting to run so wild that there is a lack of control, and this belief that all of the creatures during playtime are actually real and hiding in the room, and this becomes so real that the fear of what is reality and what is not just becomes too much to bear. Or the other thing is that kids are just desperately trying to find a way to keep their parents close to them at this age, which I definitely remember doing. And I know my nieces and nephews do.
Oh, yeah. I had a pallet next to my parents' bed, like well into grade school.
Yeah.
Just in case, where I would go lay
just in case
on
you
the
had to go in
floor
there.
like
Exactly.
a dog. No, it was
I
really
did
nice,
that
actually.
I was so the same. Yeah, so most kids want their parents to come in the room as part of the bedtime routine and then stay as long as possible, checking for monsters in the closet and under the bed, possibly doing a magic spell to make any of the evil go away, or in some instances, they could bring in a bottle of monster spray, which is a very common parenting tactic and something I'm going to hold dear in case Wilder is this way. But you basically go in and spray the whole room and say, we've gotten all the monsters, you're safe. Which, yeah, you totally get why that
I am
would work.
100%, if I have a kid, I am going to tell them from a very young age that I'm a witch. And
yes, and just say I'm magic.
yeah, and just say like, well, I'm magic, nothing's going to bother you. And it's like, I'm scared of witches. It's like, why are you scared of witches? You love mom.
There you go.
And
so
then
they
I can't be
won't have
scared.
that
So I'll
fear.
be like, they won't come in this house because I'll fuck a
Yes.
bitch up.
That's right.
And they'll be like, all right, you're right.
No, but that's honestly genius. Like, start from an early age of not making them afraid of it.
Age
I love
1. I
it.
mean, I'm pretty sure I've told Wilder I'm a witch already, but
And he was into it.
all he cared about were cars.
Ugh, that kid and his cars and trucks. Just can't. But that is what helps the child go to sleep because of the parents' involvement, coming into the room, letting them know that they are taking care of any fears that they could have. And the parents have now provided a protection, and then the child feels helped and they can go to sleep with nothing to be afraid of. So most kids over these few years of this major development can overcome their fear, and they learn that these open spaces and these areas of unknown are okay, and they have nothing to be afraid of because they feel protected by their parents. Or, Ashley, you were kind of joking, but it's sort of real. Like, they just came face to face with these fears where it's like, why are you afraid of a witch? They're not bad. Or why are you afraid of, like, your stuffed dinosaur? You suddenly think it's a monster. Like, why are you suddenly afraid of it? You never were before. You kind of just ask these questions and do this immersive therapy where it's like, come face to face with this and you're going to be okay. But for the most part, kids can overcome this fear. Or at least it just turns into a very mild anxiety that only pops up now and then. However, just like with the fear of the dark, some adults do grow up and still have these worries that they just can't shake. And I am embarrassed to admit that I am actually one of them. Sorry about it. I cannot sleep with my closet door open. Alex thinks I'm ridiculous, but it has to be closed or I flip the F out. And same with our bedroom door, but he likes to have it closed anyway just so we don't hear Wilder or any of the sounds out there. But I have to have the closet door shut too, and we also have the master bath in our room, and the bathroom door has to be shut. Like,
You just want to be
everything
in a
has to be closed.
tomb.
Yes, which I was like reading all these articles of like people who are like me and then other people who are like, I'm claustrophobic and you just ruined my life. Like you're on one end of the spectrum or the other. But while I was researching this, thank goodness I found more adults like me because I was feeling pretty silly. But there are so many forums online of people discussing their need to sleep with their closet door shut and to even do a check under the bed before they go to sleep. And a lot of people, I feel like we've talked about this before, you can't let your foot hang out of the comforter or anywhere near the edge of the bed for fear that a monster will reach up and grab it. I totally have that. And these fears that, again, are just instilled from a young age, maybe they were never treated properly and they just kind of grew up with you. But a lot of people on these forums, it was fascinating to me, are teens and adults claiming that a lot of it has to do with urban legends or movies or stories that they heard, you know, during school, passed down.
During developmental years.
Totally. Yeah. You're absorbing everything and it becomes this really impactful memory. All these people are remembering the stories of monsters and demons being under the bed or in the closet, and they were pulling people under and eating them or taking them to hell, like who knows what. One man that I came across in a Reddit forum swears he remembers watching the news as a teenager and seeing a story about a woman who got pulled under the bed and was eaten by a creature. And I'm like, I don't think this story is true.
Saw that,
sorry,
but
my guy.
am positive that you believe you saw it.
I know. I'm like, I want to be there for you, but I don't think this happened.
I was going to ask, and you might actually be getting to this, but I wonder, was there any correlation to kids who had like an unsafe childhood who like didn't have parents who were there to protect them?
Yes, I am going to talk about a little of that.
That's the first thing I thought of when you were like, yeah, you know, you want to feel safe with your parents. And I'm like, man, there are a lot of kids in the world that don't feel safe with their parents.
Don't have that.
Or don't have
No, you're right. And I am going to get to that.
Yeah. Okay,
yeah,
anyways.
You're absolutely right. No, that is such a good point. So yeah, I saw this guy's story and was sort of like, okay, dude, that probably didn't happen, but I feel for you. But the wonderful thing about Reddit is there's usually people who come to the rescue and are joining in the community with you. So people jumped on the thread and commented with similar experiences, funny enough, of remembering tales of a friend of a friend of a friend going through something traumatic where a monster or even a human was waiting in the closet or under the bed. And it was just some story that really, really stuck with them. And I even remember that too, and sort of think that is why I'm so scared of my closet, because there was absolutely a rumor going around in the Midwest where a girl was home alone. She heard scratching in her closet, went into her closet. The light wouldn't turn on. It was broken. So she started feeling around, grabbed somebody's hair, ran out of the house, called the police at her neighbors, screaming, crying. The police go to check it out, and there's a crazed maniac in her closet with a knife. I Googled it many years later. There is no story of that ever happening, but my gosh, I heard that story a million times and it terrified me and it sticks with me. Like, I can tell myself all the time that it's false, but it's still, I heard it at a young enough age that it stuck with me and really freaks me out. So I think that is absolutely why I cannot sleep with the closet door open and I have to leap over my bed to jump into it because I think someone's going to grab my ankle. It makes no sense.
A more famous urban legend is the licking the girl's hand.
People lick too?
Yeah.
I cannot. I heard that one when I was 11 at a sleepover.
Too? You like knew the title of the story.
I knew immediately. I was 11 at a sleepover and I started bawling and I called my mom and I had to go home. I couldn't handle it that it wasn't the pet dog. It was a person. I can't. Oh my gosh, Ashley, you just brought up a very sore subject. I can't believe you did that to me. So again, some of these fears are mild. They can even be called anxiety regarding these open doors or these open faces. However, again, I do want to acknowledge, just like with the darkness, that there are actual phobias associated with these situations. There is an actual fear of monsters, like truly believing that monsters are real. It is most common in children, rarely, but still present in teens and adults, and it's called terraphobia, T-E-R-A, phobia. If untreated, it can lead to severe social isolation and lack of trust in basically everyone. But there are therapists who can treat people afraid of monsters, and it's also recommended that along with therapy, people with terraphobia dive into research of monsters and where these legends come from, how the myths were started, and why certain cultures have special stories about monsters, because this history can help ease one's mind once they realize that it's almost always a metaphor used in, different cultures, different traditions. If a story of a monster exists, it almost always was just supposed to be a metaphor for something else or some sort of warning to give out to people. And if they can read these stories, hopefully it'll put their mind at ease a little bit. So that was a big recommended thing for them. But a big one is Entamaphobia, E-N-T-A-M-A phobia, is the fear of doors. It usually involves a person fearing... I know, I didn't know this existed! It usually involves a person fearing what could be on the other side of the door, and it almost always stems from some sort of childhood trauma. Mm-hmm. This is what you were bringing up earlier. Usually the loss of a loved one, a parent or a sibling, someone very, very close. If there is a severe trauma happening in childhood where someone very close to a child is lost, a lot of times this fear of doors comes out of it. It's very symbolic and deep. It's crazy that this exists, but basically people will fear a door because they don't want to pass through a door on their own. They feel unsafe and they feel unprotected because they do not have their guardian or this loved one to look over them anymore. So it's mostly closet doors, bedroom doors, the house, the entrance to the house, but it can even happen in public doors. Like it could pop up randomly at a hotel or a store.
Well, I was going to say, when you were like, it's really deep, I was thinking that it had to do with the fact that what's on the other side of the door is the future. And
that could absolutely be
if you've suffered from like an extraordinary loss, you're like automatically like, nothing good is going to happen when I open this door.
Only bad things will come from
me. So if like opening the door or going through the door is technically the future, then the fear of the future, the door represents that.
Right. I actually really love what you just came up with. That is probably so true. Is like you don't know what's on the other side, not just physically, but what is coming in time. Like you've only experienced the bad, so what good could come? But yeah, I thought that one was really fascinating, and that one is attached a lot with trauma. It could also be something as simple as you experienced extreme embarrassment with a door. Like one example I saw online was like if you got caught in a revolving door, which I'm sorry for laughing because you could be badly hurt, I guess, but if you get caught in a revolving door and you were in front of a lot of people, that can actually traumatize a person to the point where they will never use a revolving door again or even use a door near a revolving door, which I thought was fascinating. But again, that's going down the phobia road, which we're not going to fully go down today. But there are lots of ways that you can have this fear of the open space behind a door or that open space under your bed. And I am here to tell you it's totally justified because I have it too. And I get it. Some things just stick with us and freak us out because it's unknown, it's dark, it's an area we can't see, and our imagination is going to tell us that something could be lurking on the other side, whether it's closet, bathroom, bedroom, anything. So turn on your nightlight, sleep tight. Ashley, tell us what could be lurking on the other side of that door.
Many things. Well, I was also going to bring up, remember when we did our... I don't remember what episode it was. I want to say it might have been Bloody Sophie because we talked about mirrors, but we talked about like how Bloody Mary works, like how that phenomenon works, and basically when it is dark, your eyes will literally make shit up.
How many times have we seen the pile of clothes on our chair move and wave at us? Yeah, and it doesn't.
It's like, no, didn't do that, but. My eyes told me it did. And I have to trust my eyes. True.
The other night, I thought Alex had a wig on and was dressed as a woman. So when I rolled over, it took me like a full 30 seconds of just staring at him and like my heart beating out of my chest thinking there's a woman laying next to me and I don't know how she got here, to finally be like, oh no, it's Alex and he just has his normal hair. But my eyes tricked me because it was dark and I'd just woken up. Guys.
All right, where do we start?
Where do we even jump in?
So, the boogeyman.
Bogeyman
has existed since the beginning of time. It's just that he's had different names. Like if you try to research the history of the boogeyman using that name, you'll find that it originated somewhere between the 16th and 17th century, possibly in Scotland. No one knows.
Oh, wow. Maybe.
Maybe, I don't know. It's thought that the actual word boogeyman, and boogeyman, just so everyone knows, is spelled Bogeyman. I know it looks like it's bogeyman, but that's how boogeyman is spelled. And it's derived from the word bog, B-O-G-G-E, which is essentially hobgoblin in Middle English.
Ah, okay.
And what's interesting about that is that hobgoblins are creatures that were once, long ago, considered helpful. But ever since Christianity, they've often been considered mischievous. So,
of course,
naturally.
Christianity just changing our definition of everything.
Ruining our lives. So this means,
ruining it.
At one time, the boogeyman may have been considered helpful, or maybe he was just a helpful tool, but I'll get into that later.
Okay.
The boogeyman has been around a lot longer than the 16th century. That's just when he got his universal name. He's been called many, many things. For example, everyone remembers the story of Beowulf. It's an old epic poem. No one knows who wrote it or when. It was probably written between 700 and 1000 AD. And Beowulf's first battle in the poem is against the boogeyman, essentially. It's a monster named Grendel, who is said to be a descendant of Cain. So let's go even further back. Cain, for anyone who doesn't know, is Adam and Eve's son. And this is a little tale I'm going to tell you. It said that before there was Adam and Eve, we all know there was God and his angels, one of which being Lucifer. And God created a man and a woman from clay. The man he named Adam, and the woman, his equal, he named Lilith. Well, when Lilith refused to be subservient to Adam, she left the Garden of Eden. And God sent 3 angels after her to convince her to come back. But when they found her with Lucifer, Samael, Morningstar. And they had fallen in love. And Lilith refused to return to the Garden of Eden, so God destroyed her, making her into a demon, and created Eve from Adam's rib. And God made her in Lilith's exact image, which just further twisted the knife in Lucifer's heart. He was in love with Lilith. So Lucifer entered the Garden of Eden and met with Eve. And you know that whole apple thing?
Yeah,
we know all about that
apple story.
Fruit in the Bible usually didn't mean fruit, if you know what I'm saying.
You know what I mean? Elbow.
So Eve became pregnant with 2 boys. One was Cain, and the other was Abel.
One was Abel! Yes!
Yeah, you nailed it.
I know my Bible stories.
I know my
Just
Bible
kidding.
stories.
I only know like 2, but that's one of them.
But if anyone ever wondered why the hell God hated Cain so badly, maybe it's because his father wasn't biologically Adam's.
Could be.
Maybe Abel was Adam's and Cain was actually Lucifer's.
Somebody else.
So if you follow these stories, Lucifer was technically the original boogeyman. So the boogeyman is older than time itself. Time hadn't even started yet.
Town.
And boogeyman, he existed. And just FYI, as usual, before anyone comes in with a, well, actually, on the Lilith, Adam, Eve, Lucifer, Samael, Morningstar story, please let me remind you that it's made up. So
don't get your panties in a bunch.
Let's get into some other manifestations of Mr. Oogie Boogie. Like I said, he's been around forever. He's been demons, trolls, monsters, and the devil himself. And in 1284 AD in Hamelin, Germany, he found a new demographic. So the town of Hamelin was suffering from a rat infestation that was spreading disease. And a man arrived one day, a piper who was dressed in multicolored clothing. Clothing of 2 or more colors is known as pied. I did not know this.
Me either.
But that's what that means.
So that's what the Pied Piper means?
Just a piper, a guy who plays a pipe and has multicolored clothes. That's
okay.
all.
No, happy to know.
So this mysterious man appeared and told the mayor that he could kill all of the rats. And the mayor promised to pay him to do so. So the Pied Piper accepted and played his pipe to lure the rats into the Weser River, where they all drowned. Well, the mayor reneged on his promise and refused to pay him And then even blamed the piper for bringing the rats in himself. Because he was like, whatever you just did, that's fucking witchcraft. You probably brought these rats here. I'm not paying you. And the piper was like, suit yourself. So on St. John and Paul's Day, while all the adults were in church, the Pied Piper returned and began to play his pipe. And 130 children left their homes and followed the Pied Piper out of town and into a cave, and they were never seen again.
So it's like Sarah Jessica Parker in Hocus Pocus singing Come Little Children.
That's exactly what it is.
Okay,
that's probably where they got that idea.
I get it now.
Now, this is not a made-up story. This actually happened. The street where the children were last seen is called something crazy in German that I can't pronounce, but it's translated to the street without drums. And no music or dancing is allowed on this street even to this day.
Oh, wow. That really carried over.
The earliest mention of the story was on a stained glass window in the Church of Hamelin that actually ended up being destroyed in 1660. And the earliest written record is from the Town Chronicles. There was an entry from 1348 which states, "It is 100 years since our children left." So the boogeyman is officially taking kids as of 1284 AD. And just before we move on, there are actually a ton of theories on what happened to Hamelin's children. One is that the rats brought in a plague that killed hundreds of them. Mm-hmm. 2, it actually could have been a serial killer. Maybe the town exterminator killed a bunch of kids.
Was there actually a murderer coming through the town taking these kids? It could have been.
Could have been. 3, they could have died from natural causes. Could have been disease or starvation. Could have been that they drowned in the river or they died in a landslide, and that the Pied Piper's just a symbolic figure of death. Whatever happened, these kids did die. There's just no historical proof as to like what killed them.
What was the reasoning? Okay.
Regardless, today the idea of the boogeyman being a child stealer or a cradle snatcher is fairly common, and one of the ways that started was the Pied Piper story.
That makes a whole lot of sense.
But every culture, every corner of the world has a boogeyman, and in every corner of the world he takes on a different form. For example, one of my favorites, every year in the Swiss city of Zurich during their spring festival, they participate in the burning of the Bock. Bock is spelled B-O-O-G-G, like boog.
Okay, like boogie.
The Bock is very silly. It's a 100-foot statue of a snowman that they light on fire, and then they bury its ashes.
Shut up. It's a snowman?
It's a 100-foot tall snowman.
Is that what they believe? So that's their belief of the boogeyman, is it's just this big snowman?
No.
Or
that's what it is today. That's how they celebrate it today. And it's basically sort of showing that winter's over, spring has begun.
Gotcha.
Because the Bock is now sort of like a symbol of winter and death. And like I said, today it looks very silly. It's a giant snowman, but the original legend was terrifying, and I don't know where the snowman came from.
Oh, goodness. What was the real deal? Maybe just to
not be scary. I don't know. The real deal was the Bock was a hooded, 7-foot-tall creature wearing all black with long, spindly fingers and gangly legs who would walk the streets of Zurich peering into the bedroom windows of children. And if he got inside, he would hide under their beds or in their closets, wherever it was darkest.
Cool. So... everything that I just talked about being scared of earlier, you just made so much worse. And
that's the Bock, baby.
I'm not gonna sleep, guys. That is horrible. That sounds like Slender Man on crack and nothing that I want to be a part of.
Well, that's what's funny. So the Bock, he struck during the winter months because the nights were longer and darker than usual. And he would lure the children into the surrounding forest, and he would entice them into a warm home with plenty of treats to eat. And the Bock would eventually go on to inspire the Grimm brothers' fairy tale Hansel and Gretel, as well as a very new boogie known as Slender Man. So he actually is technically the OG Slender Man.
Oh, golly gosh.
Along with another origin of Slender Man is Lilith. Because her form as a demon is very serpent-like, and she has all these, like, I mean, she's, like, very tall and very thin, and she's got these, like, serpenty...
skinny, snaky figure that we don't like.
And she kills children because God kills 100 of her children every day. Because he's great. He's a good guy.
He's a great man.
Good guy. Another boogeyman manifestation gained popularity this year outside of Hispanic culture, and that is El Cuco. Thanks to Stephen King's HBO adaptation of The Outsider, which everyone should watch. It's fantastic.
It is very good. I loved it.
Did you finish it?
I did, finally. It took me a long time, but I did. Every day you'd check in, and I was like, still on the second part.
Still not quite there.
No, it was very, very good.
El Cuco, which has many different names and pronunciations, El Coco, El Coca, El Cucoy, etc. El Cucoy, that's the Jewish.
El Cucoy.
El Cucoy. El Cuco is a creature who stalked the streets at night, looking to devour children after dark. And there are many descriptions of his, or hers, Kuka can be female as well.
Equality.
There are many descriptions of their appearance, and that's probably because it is a shapeshifter who can take many forms. Some
stop
forms
having more and more powers
to scare you, and some to trick you into feeling safe, which to me is like way scarier. To be like, I'm your grandmother. Just kidding. I'll eat you.
Come with me. I have Werthers in my purse, and then you die.
Anybody want some Werthers?
I can't.
Sometimes it's a tall person shrouded in black. Sometimes he has the body of a crocodile, which is fun. And my favorite, this one's going to be familiar to you, is that sometimes he had the head of a carved pumpkin.
Oh, man. I'm into that.
So you've actually, all you Americans out there, you've known El Cuco for a lot longer than you think, because El Cuco was part of the inspiration for our famous American folklore out of Sleepy Hollow, the Headless Horseman.
I was just going to say, this sounds very Legend of Sleepy Hollow with that pumpkin head.
Now, this is, I think, where the helpfulness comes into play, because we've technically been using the boogeyman for centuries, and we've got different boogeymen all over, like I said. Even today, like, you know, we were just talking about Slender Man, but also in the documentary Cropsey, documentary filmmakers Josh Zeman and Barbara Brancaccio examine the story of their very own childhood boogeyman. So when they were children, they were told to be in bed by 9 or Cropsey would get them. Behave in school or Cropsey will come get you. But who was Cropsey? And as children, Cropsey was the reason that 5 kids were missing and murdered in Staten Island in the 80s. And a man of flesh and blood named Andre Rand was convicted of kidnapping at least 2 of the children, but to this day, no one knows who killed them. Probably Andre.
I know, I was going to say. Wait, were they kidnapped from a summer camp, or did I...
No, you made that up.
No. I was like, the Cropsey legend in my mind happened at a summer camp, so clearly I heard the wrong story. Continue.
That is Friday the 13th, I think is what you're thinking.
I know. I was like, was it Jason Voorhees? No,
Did you mean?
I don't know what story I heard.
You're like my fucking Siri, who I hate, where it's like...
Hearing all the wrong things.
Yeah. It's like, Siri, search Andre Rand. Did you mean Jason Voorhees? No.
That was just me in that moment.
No.
Okay. You're teaching me all about Cropsey. I heard the wrong tale. Okay.
But yeah, so Andre probably killed him. But it's because of the mystery that this legend remains scary. And it's why there's still a Cropsey, the boogeyman. Because whoever it was could still be out there. There's no answer.
It's the belief that they're still on the road. They're still going to come after me. We don't know.
Cropsey was the one, I'm sure I made you watch this documentary, where it's on Staten Island and there's this abandoned mental institution, and when it got shut down, basically everyone who had families that they could go to went, and everyone else got fucking left there. Like Geraldo,
we have talked about this.
Yeah, he came in and did like an expose on them and whatever. Well, Andre Rand basically lived in and around the abandoned mental institution. I don't believe he was a patient there. I think he was actually a physical therapist there. Mm-hmm. But he had some sort of mental incapacity, and he lived in and around there, and he would like live in, there's a bunch of like hidden tunnels underneath it. And all of these children with special needs started going missing. So a couple with
Ugh.
Down syndrome, a couple of them just had like developmental issues.
Yeah.
Who were going missing. And like I said, he was convicted of kidnapping, but not murder. No one could prove that he was the one that killed these kids.
Right.
So that's terrifying.
Yikes. It's just
Everyone
so
should
sad.
watch Cropsy. It's so good. I think it's on Amazon Prime.
It's very good. It's fascinating.
So cautionary tales, it's something we've used forever, and most of them are for children, but there are plenty for adults as well. The call is coming from inside the house is a cautionary tale for babysitters and represents having a responsibility, because for a lot of young women and men, this is their first responsibility. This is the first thing they've ever been like seriously responsible for. You have lives at stake.
Yeah. My gosh, I was hired to be a babysitter when I was like 12, and looking back, I was such an idiot. I'm like, who trusted me with their children? But thinking of getting that call of like, have you checked the children? And it's like, well, no, I got here and the parents said they were asleep and just to eat their Cheetos and drink their Mountain Dew. And you're like, I didn't check the children. That's a terrifying thought.
Wouldn't it be funny if it was just a guy reminding you to check the children?
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm not going to hurt you, honey. But have you checked the children?
Like, check on them. They
just
could be.
Give,
they could need
peek
something
in the door. Yeah.
Another one, the escaped mental patient with a hook for a hand scratching at your door while you're smooching on Lover's Lane is a caution to teenagers to be safe.
Yep.
Obviously, safe as in don't get murdered, but even deeper, safe when it comes to sex.
Yeah.
So the boogeyman is present in every grim fairy tale, in every cautionary tale, and in every urban legend that you've ever heard.
It's a good way to whip people into shape.
It really is. You know what? It's a it seems like it's a really good tactic. So we know the boogeyman as Grendel, the Bach, the infamous witch Baba Yaga, who I'm going to be talking about on this month's bonus episode, if you guys want to join our Patreon and get it. The Slender Man, Michael Myers, the Wendigo, Bloody Mary, the Headless Horseman, Krampus, Pazuzu, and even the Blair Witch is a boogeyman. The boogeyman is everything dangerous that could happen to your kids. The boogeyman is a plague. COVID-19 is the boogeyman. The boogeyman gives us the idea to eat people when we've run out of food and tells us to jump when we're standing at the edge of a tall building. He's basically all of your deepest, darkest thoughts. And basically, he's everything we don't understand or can't rationalize. You know, you could say we killed the boogeyman when we executed Ted Bundy, but we didn't. Because the man wasn't the boogeyman. He's caught, he's dead, he's flesh, he's blood. The boogeyman is like, what would cause a man to do something so horrific?
He was like the devil on his shoulder whispering in his ear.
And like, could that thing that caused him to do something that horrific be in me or in my son or in my spouse? Or even like, when will the next Ted Bundy be? That's the boogeyman. That's
what's horrifying to think of.
That's what's horrifying. Because Ted Bundy is like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of guys could have taken Ted Bundy down. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't a monster. That's the thing, is when you look at him, he's kind of a dweeb.
Yeah. He's this nerdy, nice-looking guy.
So he's not the boogeyman, but whatever made him the way he is.
Do those unspeakable acts.
Is the boogeyman. Yep.
Sends chills right down my spine.
So sleep tight, kiddies.
Currently, my bedroom door, closet door, and bathroom door are shut. But, I mean, obviously I have so much to do to, like, still get ready for bed, so it's all going to change. But I'm going to, like, probably shove a towel under my door to make sure it's extra secure tonight. It's going to be... I might be up for a while, guys. It's fine.
You were telling me earlier, you're like, I have to have the closet door closed, and I have to have the door closed, and I have to have my feet tucked in. And I was just thinking, like, I'm trash because I have to. I don't look. I don't care. It doesn't even occur to me if it's open. And also, I'm the person who I have to have one foot out of the blankets because I get so hot.
That doesn't make you trash. That's normal. You are the normal. I'm the trash. No, because I don't think you're alone in that at all. I think I'm the idiot who's like, jump over the bed, feet tucked in, all doors shut.
You turn
like,
the light off and you run and jump into the bed.
I do.
I do that
it's
sometimes
embarrassing,
too,
but I do.
especially when I'm staying at home in my parents' house.
Oh my gosh, Ashley, I can't even tell you. When I'm at my parents' house that I'm not familiar with, I use a nightlight. And I
do
wouldn't
too.
even say I'm afraid of the dark. To me, it's more the doors. But literally, I have a nightlight. Everything has to be shut. No clothes can be in a pile because they might trick me.
It's so funny because I don't have any nightlights, but I do have this old... I have this really old, Spencer's Gift flame light. Do you know what I'm talking about? With, it's, red
exactly
light, and then it's, like, a fan that, and I turn that on for light. And the thing is,
my God.
Wow, how is that less scary? That's a dungeon flame now added to the environment.
It brings you comfort in a weird way.
Well, I don't remember ever doing that, but after living in LA, if anyone has ever lived in a big city, it's never 100% quiet and it's never 100% dark. Like even right now, if I were to go outside, it's not 100% dark. The sky is not black. It's sort of grayish.
It's a little bit lit up with city lights.
Yeah, so it's never dark. It's
in
never
the
quiet.
Midwest.
So when I'm in fucking Walnut Hill, Illinois, and there's not a sound to be heard, it's quiet. It's the darkest shit I've ever seen. I can't sleep. I'm like, I can't handle what's happening here. I can't handle this peace.
Too quiet. Yeah, that's what's hilarious is my parents will always be like, well, aren't you happy to be in the peaceful Midwest? You're not hearing the honking, hearing this and this. I'm like, no, hearing the garbage truck brings me peace.
That's my lullaby.
I could not take this quiet. It is so quiet. And even further of why I get scared of my parents is it's not my childhood home. When I used to go and visit and it was my childhood home, there was at least some familiarity, but they now have moved to Florida, sold our childhood house, and then when they do go to Illinois, they stay at this new little condo they have. So I stay at the condo. It's unfamiliar to me. It's quiet. It's weird. In order to go to the bathroom from the guest room, you have to cross the creepiest staircase of all time that leads to an unfinished, all cement basement that has nothing in it but ghouls. And so every time I have to pee, again, like we were talking about, I sprint to the bathroom, pee as fast as I can, sprint back to the bedroom, dive into the bed, turn on my nightlight, turn on my ocean sounds, and pray that I fall asleep, which I usually do not for several hours. It's an issue.
Well, that's all the time we have this week for Keep It Weird. Thank you guys so much for joining us and hanging out with us on social media every week. We really love you.
It's so much fun having you on board, weirdos.
It really is. Actually, real quick, Addie Rife and Leah Benj. Oh, fuck, Leah. If I said your name wrong, I'm so sorry. Anyways.
I've always wondered how it's pronounced.
Yeah, me too. Leah, write in and tell us how to pronounce your last name. Leah B and Addie Rife basically said in our group today that Addie said, I don't want to brag, y'all, but we are really good at gifts. And Leah said, I was just thinking that we should have a gift day each week where we choose a random topic and see what we can come up with. And I think that's a really great idea. Let's pick a day. Obsessed. That sounds like so much fun. You guys are so creative. And we're 100% doing that. Thank you, Leah and Addie.
Thank you for that idea.
We're going to do it.
You guys. This is why I love our listeners. You guys are creative, wonderful humans. Thank you.
Join us next week for a very special episode of the show with a very special guest. And the week following is our very, very spooky, scary Halloween episode. I cannot believe there are 2.5 weeks left.
It's crazy, Town. Listener ghost stories.
And it's an probably extra long. I'm not going to make any empty promises this early, but I feel like it's going to be very long and very spooky. So
I think so too.
Make sure you tune in for that. Please check out our Patreon. I already told you about it earlier. Patreon.com/keepitweirdpodcast to find ways that you can support our show. Check out our Etsy page at www.etsy.com/shop/keepitweirdpodcast.
Guys, get the sweatpants.
Dude,
they're so great.
I can't wait. I don't even have a pair yet, and I need them.
They're great.
Yeah, we've got new stuff. We've got zip-up hoodies, sweatpants, and even blankies for the chilly season.
Just say hello to fall with Keep It Weird merch.
Follow us on social media at Keep It Weirdcast across all platforms. Rate our show 5 stars in the Apple Podcast app or on iTunes if you really love us. And sign off this week. You know what? I had a song. I'm not going to sing it because I would never do that to you. And also the song's in Spanish, and I would never do that to you either. Okay. So I'm going to read the lyrics in English.
You just said so much. Okay.
I know, I'm so sorry. But it's the lyrics to a song called Duérmete Niño.
Oh, I know this song.
Do you really?
Yes, please. No, you go.
Can you sing it?
No.
Oh, okay, just kidding. So,
now I'm embarrassed.
Is to the tune of Rockabye Baby, so you can imagine. And the lyrics go, sleep baby do. El Cuco is coming, and he will take you. Sleep baby do. Here comes El Cuco, he'll eat you too.
Really, really sweet lullaby.
So, just a really sweet, precious lullaby for you guys to wrap up the show today.
Oh, just keep it in your hearts and dream sweetly.
and keep it weird.
Have you ever met the bogeyman before? No, of course you haven't, for you're much too good, I'm sure. Don't you be afraid of him if he should visit you. He's a great big coward, so I'll tell you what to do. Hush, 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 here comes the bogeyman. Don't let him come too close to you, he'll catch you if he can. Just pretend